96 million American adults are walking around with blood sugar that's already too high. 80% of them have no idea. Not diabetic, not even close by the tests most doctors run. But high enough, new research says, that the damage has already started. One of them was a woman I'll call Sarah. I've changed her name, but this exact pattern, I've seen it more times than I can count. 2 years before her diagnosis, Sarah felt completely fine. And that's exactly the point of this video. 2 years before the diagnosis. It started small. She'd eat a full dinner, a real one, and an hour later, she'd be standing in front of the fridge looking for something sweet. She couldn't explain it. She knew she'd just eaten. Here's what was actually happening in her body, though she had no way of knowing it yet. When insulin resistance starts creeping in, there's plenty of glucose sitting in the blood. It's just having a hard time getting into the cells. Think of insulin as a key, and the cell as a lock. Normally, the key turns, the door opens, glucose walks in. But once resistance builds up, that lock gets stiff. The key still works. It just takes more of it. So her blood was swimming in fuel, while her cells were quietly acting like they were starving. Her brain picked up on that gap and did exactly what it's built to do. Sounded the alarm. Go find fuel, fast. She chalked it up to stress. Boredom snacking. A fair guess. The wrong one. Because 6 months later, something else showed up. Something that had her Googling symptoms at midnight, 18 months before the diagnosis. Somewhere around 2 or 3 every afternoon, her energy just left. Not, could use a nap, tired. More like someone had unplugged her. Coffee didn't touch it. Picture her cells like a power grid, and insulin as the one flipping the switches that let energy in. When cells have been overloaded for a while, more fuel coming in than they're burning, they start tripping their own breakers as a defense move. That's insulin resistance again, just showing up in a different room of the house. The energy was there, it just wasn't getting where it needed to go. She started drinking more coffee. It didn't help, obviously, and she had no idea this was connected to the fridge rating from 6 months before. It was. And the next thing that showed up made her wonder, for the first time, if something was actually wrong. 1 year before the diagnosis, she'd sit down to answer one email and read the same sentence 3 times. Colleagues would talk to her, and she'd have to ask them to repeat it, not because she wasn't listening, but because the words just didn't land. Her brain is one of the hungriest organs in the body for glucose, but it doesn't want a flood of it. It wants a steady drip. When blood sugar spikes hard after a meal and insulin rushes in to correct it, it often overcorrects, and glucose drops below where it should sit. That's reactive hypoglycemia, and the brain feels it almost instantly, since unlike muscle, it can't store much fuel of its own. Worried about her focus at work, she actually brought it up at a routine doctor's visit. Blood pressure check. You're probably just stressed, and sent on her way. Nobody ran a fasting glucose test. Why would they? She wasn't overweight. She wasn't over 50. She didn't fit the picture. 8 months before the diagnosis. In the mirror one morning, she noticed it. A patch on the back of her neck, darker, thicker, almost velvety. She scrubbed it, exfoliated it, wondered if it was a hygiene thing. It wasn't, and that's exactly why it never came off. This has a name, acanthosis nigricans, and here's the mechanism. When insulin runs high for long stretches, it doesn't just affect blood sugar. At high enough levels, it starts binding to a separate set of receptors in the skin, ones normally reserved for growth signals, telling skin cells to multiply faster than they should. She mentioned it to her sister, half joking. Her sister said her skin didn't do that. She almost brought it up at her next doctor's visit. Almost. It felt like too strange a thing to say out loud. It wasn't strange. It was the most important thing she could have said that whole year. 2 months before the diagnosis. It was a tingling in her feet that finally got her to book an appointment. Not out of worry about diabetes, just wanting to sleep through the night without her toes buzzing. The smallest blood vessels in the body, the ones feeding the nerves, oxygen, and nutrients, are extremely sensitive to elevated glucose. Over time, high blood sugar damages the walls of those vessels. cutting blood flow to nerve endings, especially in the feet, which sit furthest from the heart. Extra glucose also attaches to proteins throughout the body, a process called glycation, and when that happens inside the nerves, it interferes with how well they send and receive signals at all. The good news, at this early stage, usually still reversible. The nerves weren't dying. They were struggling in an environment that had become too sweet to function properly in. She walked into that appointment expecting to be told to buy better shoes. The appointment. Instead, almost as an afterthought, her doctor ordered a fasting glucose test. It came back at 98 milligrams per deciliter. 98. Technically normal. The standard lab cutoff for prediabetes starts at 100. She was 2 points under the line. But here's what her doctor told her next, and it's the exact reason this video exists. A growing number of metabolic researchers argue the truly optimal fasting number isn't 99, it's under 90. By that measure, Sarah hadn't been borderline for a few weeks. She'd been sitting in elevated territory for at least 2 years. The standard test was simply never built to catch it that early. Sarah's story isn't rare. It's actually the most common one there is, which is exactly why I wanted to walk you through it end to end, instead of just listing symptoms at you. Because every one of those 5 things, the fridge rating, the 3 p.m. crash, the fog, the skin, the tingling in her feet, traced back to the same root. Glucose that wasn't getting into her cells the way it should, and insulin working overtime trying to force the issue anyway. One system. 5 different ways of asking for help. For 2 years, before a single test ever caught it. If any part of that timeline sounded familiar, I want you to hear this clearly. None of it was on her, and none of it is on you either. Nobody connects 5 dots spread across 2 years on their own. That's kind of the whole problem, not a personal failure. Here's the part that actually changed things for Sarah, though. A 10-minute walk after her biggest meal of the day, swapping the afternoon cracker binge for something with protein or fat in it. Eating an actual breakfast instead of skipping it to save calories, which, it turns out, was spiking her blood sugar even higher later in the day. Small, boring changes. 6 months later, her fasting number had moved from 98 down into the mid-80s. Blood sugar is one of the most responsive systems in the human body. What you eat at your next meal, whether you walk after dinner tonight, how you sleep, these move the needle faster than most people think. Which means you have more control here than it feels like right now. This isn't about fear, and it's definitely not about perfection. It's about finally understanding the language your body's been speaking the whole time, and doing something with it, sooner than Sarah did. If this helped you connect a few dots the way it helped her connect hers, hit like. It genuinely helps this reach someone else who needs it. Tell me in the comments which one of these 5 hit closest to home. I read every single one. And if you want the exact ranges and the full habit breakdown, there's a free guide linked below. Subscribe if you're new. New videos every week on blood sugar and metabolic health. Take care of yourself. I'll see you in the next one.